Hey guys, this is Gamercow. Welcome to a new LP thing. It's a DS game, obviously enough. If you couldn't tell by now, it is a Pokemon 5th gen game. So there you go, Game 3. Pretty special on their part. So, the way that this is working is it's on an emulator. Obviously it's on Desmame because, yeah. I was toying around for a fair bit with the prospect of sort of zoom and pan editing stuff on this, and I've decided that it's just not worth it. I don't have Vegas Pro, obviously, for editing stuff. There's no way I can buy it, and I actually haven't managed to get other methods to work to get it working properly. But it doesn't matter because in the end, I think this is good enough. I know it's minimal editing based stuff, which for DS games doesn't always go down well, but it's the best that I can really do without having, ridiculous issues in my own right. So yeah, this is just how I'm gonna do it. So yeah. What I mean by that, of course, is as you can see, the screens are side-on views here, with the bottom screen technically being on the right-hand side. And I personally prefer this because it actually fits naturally into widescreen based formats. And we have here Reshiram looking pretty darn awesome. I like the 3D effects on this game quite a bit. Like, it's not actual 3D, but you know what I mean. I like the way that the art style plays in this game. So, new game is what we're going into, and this isn't a regular run of Pokemon at all, as you all would know at the very least, even if you haven't watched them. I was doing a random Nuzlocke or roulette Nuzlocke stream thing a long time ago, and unfortunately I can't finish that because that was one of the casualties of the whole thing regarding the loss of my data from the formatting and whatnot. So, to go back at that, I'm gonna give it another go, but this time as an LP as opposed to a stream set, basically, because I felt like doing an LP of this anyway. I wanted to do Black or White 2, but then I kind of thought that apart from they haven't really got the codes for it all yet, for what I need to do. I figured it would be bad to do the sequel before doing the original game if I was ever going to do the original game, but I kind of just want to do this. And yeah, you can see my mouse comes up on the screen because it is touchscreen enabled, and this is the way to interact with it. I can obviously not use the mouse if I desire, and I know mouse clicking appears and stuff, and that's kind of annoying, but I quite like actually having the mouse there. So that's what's going to happen with that. Now, I mentioned this is a random Nuzlocke, or a roulette Nuzlocke. I'm just going to call it random Nuzlocke because, yeah, it's sort of inspired by LuckSevenDX's Heart Gold playthrough. That was what introduced me to this whole concept, really, and I would not do a regular Nuzlocke, but I really like the idea of doing a random Nuzlocke, and I figured this game is as good a thing to do as any. It's slightly modified, however, because I'm sort of imposing some rules myself in this here, but let me very quickly go ahead and bring my rules up over on this other side here. You won't see them, of course, because they're not in the region for recording, but my general rule set here. The first one is the fairly obvious thing that any Pokemon which, any area which isn't water where Pokemon can appear, because the code doesn't work in water. But I have an action replay code that makes any Pokemon in the game possible to appear at random in the random encounter stuff that you find in the wild. So that means Pokemon like Ginsect can come in, it means that Pokemon like Bulbasaur can come up and whatnot, and that makes things really interesting in its own right. Now, the two core rules of a Nuzlocke are not changing here. If a Pokemon faints, then that's it, it's dead. And if there's an exception to that, but I'll go into that later. But the other main rule of a Nuzlocke is that you can only catch the first Pokemon that comes up on a route. It doesn't matter if you don't have Pokeballs or not, thankfully this game gives you them before you get set loose on a route, but what it does mean is that in theory I would be able to say if a Shaman came up as the first Pokemon I would catch that. That's not the case. I'm restricting it to the first fully unevolved Pokemon that I find on a route, which does not count legendaries. So basically, if I came across a wild, I don't know, Bulbasaur is the obvious example. If I come across a Bulbasaur as the Pokemon on a route, I can catch it. If I come across a Vaporeon as the first Pokemon on a route, then I can't catch it, but I can catch the next Pokemon that comes up if it fits the criteria. Basically, if I saw Vaporeon, I saw Azumarill, then I saw Gyarados, then I saw Mismagius, then I saw Tepig, and I didn't already have a Tepig, then I'd be able to catch Tepig. However, I am not counting duplicates within this, unless the original is already fainted and already dead, basically. So my starter will be Tepig, so if my first Pokemon on the next route is a Tepig, I won't count it. That's just the way it goes. Another addition to this, if you will, because I don't have Wi-Fi access on an emulator, obviously. I know it's possible, but I haven't got it to work. So unless I get that access as well, then I will not count trade evolutions, as a thing. I will not, for example, allow Feebas as a capture thing. I will not allow some of the others. I mean, Onyx, I think, possibly. I basically want to make it so that I don't have Pokemon which are completely useless in this type of run as a thing. I probably would still keep Abra or Ghastly or any of them which are actually good for that, but it's a grey area, and I know people are going to disagree with me on this one because it's out of the spirit of the run and stuff, but that's how I'm sort of thinking of it at the moment. Basically, I don't want to come across Feebas and be forced to catch it and it be useless. But if the Pokemon is actually usable, then I'll go ahead and use it. My more standard things in this, which I will keep to, I will try not to use items during battles. I usually don't buy healing items much anyway. I buy a few, but I don't tend to buy too many, but I will not be using them during fights. And the other one is that I will always have set battle style as the thing. I do not play shift style because that's cheating, so yes. Let's save whilst I'm here as well, because we played for 3 minutes, that's good enough to save on, right? Yeah, that's a thing. What else is there? The addendum to the whole if a Pokemon faints is out thing. At the start of the game, there's an exception to this, because Pokemon usually are not random encounter stuff, and it tends to come up very late in the game in comparison, where moves like Dragon Rage and Sonic Boom come in, or at least when you are able to handle them is when they show up. However, there are Pokemon such as Hydreigon and Electrode and other ones that actually have those moves right from the start, and it's impossible to get around them. Hydreigon is too fast to run away from, say Electrode is definitely too fast to run away from, and they tend to have moves like Sonic Boom and Dragon Rage right from the word go. So if that happens and I lose a Pokemon to it at the start, I don't count it. Until the Pokemon is able to take a hit comfortably, and by comfortably I mean probably at least 60 HP for Dragon Rage and 30 to 35 for Sonic Boom, I won't count it. Again, that might seem like it's going against the rules, but really what it is it's making sure that I'm not going to get fucked over right from the start, because this is an exceptional rule-based thing. This is a random run. Anything can happen, basically, and I want to try and make it so that it's actually playable. Because my last time I played this, I had a level 2 Svelius come up first encounter. The very first time I played with the random encounter code. trying to do a Nuzlocke run, and it Dragon Raged me on the first turn of the very first battle, and I whited out, and obviously that would be game lost. So it's kind of cheap, to say the least, unless you have, you know, that in place. Is there anything else before I just do the first fight here? Let me see. Yeah, in terms of areas, I think it's especially true in this game, but I count a different area as a place that has got a completely new aesthetic, and usually music, but it's mostly aesthetic and new Pokemon in the normal game. So one of the biggest examples I can give of this is in Pinwheel Forest. In Pinwheel Forest you have technically what is called Pinwheel Forest as the outside route, and then you have the forest section itself. The forest section itself is a completely different aesthetic, and it has a new music, and new Pokemon appear there as well. Combine all three, and that basically means I count that as a unique area. Even though it's still called Pinwheel Forest, I still count it. This does not apply to different routes, not different routes, but different floors on the same cave. So say Chargestone Cave, there's 3 floors in it. Even though the music changes in pitch, the Pokemon are still the same, everything's the same that way, so I don't count that. But that's one that you should know. And the other one is that Black and White doesn't have that many places that you can catch Pokemon compared to some of the other games. So couple that with the potential to have yourself screwed over at the start if you don't get a Pokemon that can learn Cut, and I'm basically going to allow myself to use the Pokemon that you get given to you during the game as well. So the monkey which appears at one point, I will definitely, you know, near the start, I will be using that. The fossils, I will use a fossil, definitely, if I need to. And any other Pokemon that you get given that I feel would be useful, I will definitely be using. Because this game doesn't have as many places that you can catch Pokemon in, and it hits very hard. This game is surprisingly difficult to do in a sort of Nuzlocke rule set. You've got to be very careful. So I'm playing by that sort of rule set. If people don't agree, then this might not be the play for you, but I'm going to use the Pokemon that I get given. I'm not going to use legendaries, however. I might catch them, and we'll see how that goes, but I will not use them. Hopefully. That room just got completely wasted there, jeez. Why is there footprints on the wall? That just seems really random. I mean, okay, maybe Snivy could get up there, but how are there so many footprints on the wall? Is my Tepig secretly Spider Pig or something? Well, that would be kinda cool, wouldn't it? But, is there anything else I need to go over? Oh yes, shiny rules thing. I actually encountered in my previous, run on the stream stuff, I actually encountered a shiny Vespiquen, and I didn't catch it because it was a Pokemon that already appeared. I'd already caught something in Pinwheel Forest, so I couldn't actually catch it. However, I've sort of had that pointed to me that it's kind of a potentially, if I somehow find a shiny Pokemon during this run, I will catch it. Even if it's a legendary, I will do my best to catch it. But yeah, if I find a shiny Pokemon during this run, then I will be quote-unquote ignoring the Nuzlocke run rules for it, and I will catch it. Because yeah. Anything else that way? I guess maybe one other thing. The code does not work on water. It works in grass and it works in caves. It doesn't work in water. Therefore, in any place that there is water, especially if it's a route, now I think there's one route, Route 19 or something, is it? There's one route, maybe 17, I can't actually remember what route it's called, but there is a route in the game which does not have any grass on it, but it has all water. It's a full surfing route. And what I'm planning on doing is I'm planning on going back to a previous route and catching a substitute Pokemon instead. Again, because there's not so many places to catch Mons in this game, but also because, well, you should be able to catch a Pokemon. If the code was working ideally, then it would work in random places too. Wow, that's a lot of attack at level 6, god. I reckon this is a naughty nature thing. It's definitely special defense reducing, but I think it's naughty nature. It's either that or lax, whatever. Yes, so that's what I'm gonna do in terms of catching Pokemon. So this will probably include towns as well. I was a bit sketchy with that in the stream run before. Like I caught Frillish in one of the towns and Basculin in one of the others. But really, what I should do is if there's an opportunity to catch Pokemon in the town, then I'll probably go to a route and substitute it. I might only do that if I need new Pokemon, however. We'll see how that goes. But now you know my basic plans for catching stuff and all of the good things, really. So yeah, our room got completely smashed up, and it's kinda bad. But that's okay because our mum is really awesome and she's gonna clear it up for us, and basically we're going to the lab and getting stuff next time. And yes, I do say next time because once this little cutscene thing here is done, I will be cutting the video there. So yeah, the cries are very awesome to hear. Well, come on, let's face it, there's no doors between you here and that, so you'd have heard it through the stairs. So yeah. We do indeed need to rest, that's obvious. I need to rest too, apparently, because I'm yawning, but we're going to get a cross transceiver, which is a wristwatch thing. I would love to have this wristwatch, actually, because this thing is able to take calls and things as well. Actually, it's able to take video calls. How the hell has technology advanced so far here that you can do video calls off of a wristwatch? Can you actually do that in real life, now that I think about it? Maybe there's some really super hyper advanced thing that lets you do that, I don't know. But yeah, it's almost as if you're like a Power Ranger or something and you've got the little watch that you talk into and you almost expect to hit a button and transform into like Super Trainer or something, seriously. But yeah, that's kind of sad. Anyway, this is being GamerCow playing Pokemon Black 1 Random Nuzlocke Attempted Start. We haven't seen any randomness yet, but we're gonna see that next episode, because next episode we start on, you know, the game for real, pretty much. So join us for that then.